logged in. So we'll move on to item, I started, sorry, I jumped ahead here a little bit. So we did roll call. We'll now move on to approval of the agenda. You have the agenda before you. Any additions, corrections, or modifications? The only thing I would do, just maybe on informational, is on the public record here, is just maybe talk about the virus situation like we were just doing before we started.
Yep,
So,
I can do that. I'll put that in the director's report.
yeah, great. Okay, so any other additions or modifications to the approval, or to the agenda? Otherwise, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
I make a motion?
And I will second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. I should have two different colored flags.
Steve's not here, so you can move up if you'd like.
No, I'm good.
You're good, all right. All right, next item, C, approval of minutes. You have that in your packet. Any additions, corrections, or modifications to the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion. Second?
We have a motion and a second. Again, any additions or corrections? Otherwise, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to regular business. Item D1, consideration with possible action to approve Resolution 20-02, approving the submittal of the inventory removal application HUD 52860 and HUD 52860-A to the Green Bay Housing Authority Scattered Sites Program, or for the Green Bay Housing Authority Scattered Sites Program.
So I think we reported that we submitted our Section 18 application to our HUD reps. So they're going to review it, and then the next process is they'll ship that to the SAC. But part of that application needs to be a resolution from this board supporting the efforts of making the application. So this is just really the formal resolution to do that.
Can you tell me again the reason that you're doing the 18?
The Section 18 repositioning, we're doing that because it will give us the ability to, it's going to move those units out of public housing, and then it will change it won't affect the tenants because they'll still pay 30% of their income, but they'll be on a project-based voucher. So the voucher will come through ICS. So they'll remain there and stay there at the same rent. But what it will allow us to do is charge a more fair market rent to the federal government, which will give us a bigger income that we can use for capital needs, that we can actually have more direction on how we spend it. So if we say these 10 houses are in need of this, HUD isn't going to direct us every year like now. HUD says specifically you need to do these by years. This opens up the opportunity for us to decide where that money goes and gives us more money to actually put into those houses, which need a lot of work.
Okay.
HUD's not really providing enough capital resources to maintain our housing stock.
Okay.
So this is a way for us to get more income in to do that, put it into the houses.
Okay.
All right, any questions about the resolution? I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Otherwise, we need to vote. We do this online, right?
It should pop up. Okay, motion approved.
Good. Moving on to item 2, consideration with possible action to approve sending out a request for proposal for consultant services to assist the Green Bay Housing Authority in determining the best plan for the rehabilitation of Mason Manor.
Okay, now that we've got really Section 18 underway and in the process, we need to move on to the repairs that we need to have made at Mason Manor. In meeting with the chair, we had discussions about how we need to set ourselves up. For example, do we need a separate LLC from the Housing Authority? How do we decide if we go the RAD route or mixed financing or low-income credit? There's a lot of options for financing this rehab. And we decided that I think the best case is for us is to work with a consultant. So there are a lot of agencies out there that will do this consulting work for us and will help us, will work on our behalf as a housing authority to help us decide what the best route is to do these remodels. If you work with a specific developer, they may or may not necessarily be looking out for the housing authority's best interest at this point. So we think it's best to hire the developer. Normally how it works when we're going through a major refinance, which we probably will do some type of financing with regards to this rehab, Normally, they make you make like a $5,000 to $10,000 down payment that they hold, and then the rest of the balance of the money is part of the development project, that goes into the cost of the development project. So the outlay to us up front should not be that great, but we'll know when we get them back. So the goal is to get this RFP out tomorrow, and then we'd like to have it back reviewed. We have a subcommittee set up to review those. Hopefully we get a number of applications in and bring them back to the April GBHA for approval to hire the consultant. And then we can begin looking at all the different options we have for remodel. So attached in your packet is actually the RFP that's going to go out. That kind of lists the things that we're going to be looking for. We used a template from another city to look at this. And then also the HUD forms. There's a lot of HUD requirements that need to be met when you go out for RFP.
So are there any other questions?
It's becoming real,
It is.
you know, it's starting to become real.
It really needs to.
Yeah, yes.
I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, and we need to vote.
Okay, motion approved.
Good.
Thank you.
Moving on to informational items. Item number 1, GBHA bills.
Those were sent out in the packet. The only interesting thing is we did get a request for Broadway Lofts. We did pull back the retainage that we had originally set in the contract, so they made their first draw, and then once the project's complete, they'll ask for that retainage. So
Okay.
that's the big thing.
All right.
A lot of movement.
Moving along.
Yes.
Great. That's great. Okay. You don't have to vote on this, so. Moving on to item number 2, GBHA financial report.
That was also in your packet. There's nothing super exciting going on right now.
Which is good, people.
Yes.
This is good.
Yeah, we did submit our operating subsidy that was due the end of February. We got that in. I got a couple of questions from HUD, but that's all been cleared up and we're all okay. Just waiting to find out what we actually get.
And when?
That's
And when?
always the mystery.
Yes.
Mysteries, what you get and when you get it. All right, any questions? All right, moving on to item number 3, Langen report. We're moving around pretty quick.
Which is also in your packet.
It's all part of our social distancing.
Yeah.
Quick, in and out. Any questions? about
And
Langen
our
report?
applications are in there.
Okay. No questions. All right, moving on to item number 4, director's report.
All right, well, let me start before we've got A and B underneath that, but we want to talk a little bit about the coronavirus. Of course, we have a number of elderly and disabled residents in Mason Manor. So what we've been doing is we asked our cleaning staff to make sure they hit the public places extra hard and repeatedly. You know, there's so much unknown about it. I hear that you can pick it up from surfaces, and then I hear it can be airborne. I'm not quite sure. We don't have any confirmed cases in Green Bay yet, but I think it's a matter of time till that happens. I think the mayor just put out an announcement today. He's canceling all of his public appointments. He's encouraging people not to go to large gatherings. I think the theory now is that if we can do some of these things now before it hits us hard, it still will hit us, and people will still be in the hospital, but it won't be an overwhelming spike. It might be this, so it's manageable. So there's going to be some training at Mason Manor, so a presentation.
Yes, we have a nurse coming in.
A nurse coming in to talk about that. You know, it's the same thing. It's hand washing. We hear that all the time. If you're sick, stay in, don't go out. You know, with Mason Manor, we probably should set something up, like if someone's really sick and they can't if they're really sick, they're like, what do? They call 911, or maybe that's something we can work with our floor leaders on, just keep an eye on people.
Yeah.
You know, that type of situation, see how things are going.
I wondered too if, I was wondering if the Red Cross was gonna stop providing rides and things because the volunteers might start
Oh.
staying home because they're
Well-
all older.
And you know what, things are gonna change for us, we know, we just don't know at what capacity. So at this point, we just are, social distancing, hand washing, extra cleaning by everybody. I carry hand sanitizer with me all the time now. I am one of those people that if I get it, probably be very bad for me. So, I think it's just being cautious as an individual, and then if you are sick, don't go out, don't share that with other people.
So I have a question. So if people get into a bind where they cannot get groceries and stuff, what are we gonna do about that?
Yeah, we should talk about that with the social worker and see what we can do. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff I'm thinking about for our tenants at Mason Manor. Well, and, I mean, you probably have, with the shelter, like, all kinds of issues that you're working on now as well, because, that's.
Yeah.
that's
We've got a good
nature.
plan. I haven't looked over it entirely, but the VA sent us, so we're gonna go through that today. But we have to look at staffing and
Right.
community meal and,
Right.
so.
I don't know what will happen for us. Like, I don't know what's, like, our next meeting is in April. I don't know what that's gonna mean.
Right.
If we may not be meeting, I'm not
I could be in the other room for you guys.
By the next
Yeah.
meeting, Terry could be over there. So I think it's all really played by ear. We just had a presentation from the fire department this morning. Everything that we do is actually run under the Brown County Health Department. We don't have a health department as a city, so the Brown County Health Department is really directing things. I do know that the hospitals have all been met together, and they're all working together collaboratively on this, which is good. So I think there's a lot of good things happening, but it's really going to be, I hate to say it's really going to be up to all of us to just be good neighbors and take care of ourselves and not share bad things with other people at this point, so. But we are working on Mason Manor and those types of issues, so bring those forward to us. And maybe we need to have a RAB meeting to talk just about this potentially.
That's for the public, that's why we're sitting not next to each other for this meeting.
Yes,
and we're
right.
social distancing each other.
Right.
I was at a meeting Monday night, and a public meeting, and one person came in with a can of Lysol, and they were just spraying everything as they were walking down into the
Oh.
meeting. They sprayed the chair, they
Oh.
literally sprayed the air in front of them as they walked in.
Wow.
It was a little
That's good
hyper.
to- That really
But
is.
that's-
That person should just stay home.
Yeah.
Yes, I haven't seen that direction from anyone.
Yes.
What if
Or just
people
wear
have,
masks.
what if people have allergies
Yeah,
or something?
well,
That could
yes.
Well,
be-
right, and
that
that's
could cause,
right.
or asthma, that could cause some issues.
And the person had to, well, it didn't have to be there, but there was an agenda item involved in him, so he
Right,
Yeah.
wanted to be at the meeting, so.
Right.
He was being hyper cautious.
right, right. So, even as the city, we're looking at, possibility of working from home in situations, and, kind of everything's on the table right now, we're just kind of waiting to see. Hopefully, we can do these things, it won't hit us hard in Green Bay, but
Right.
it's here, we just haven't been, not a lot of testing done yet, so maybe here now, we just don't know.
And then, I think, again, before we went live here, we were talking about this a little bit too, about the visiting. When you mentioned about visiting nursing homes, is there something we should put out through Mason Manor that to try to eliminate or minimize outside visitors coming in?
That's what they would.
Yeah, so you don't want to say don't have visitors,
Right.
but somehow just maybe a notice to the
Like kind of all
residents.
of the things, hand washing, keep your hands from your
Yeah.
face, wipe things down, try to limit your visitors if you
Yeah,
can, just
yeah.
because it's so many people in one place. We could probably do a notice like that and get that out, that'd be easy. We could probably just make a copy of, I'm sure the CDC has just an info sheet
Yeah.
kind of on what to do.
And I
but
think
then-
that was on that hot email as well, like
Oh.
precautions.
Yep, yep. So we can
Minimize
certainly do that,
visitors,
but, yeah.
Okay.
That's sometimes how you're getting groceries and whatever, people are bringing that in, so of course we want, that to continue to happen, but if you're gonna have a party, maybe don't have it at your place instead, right? Or skip
Could be
it,
your house.
or skip it for a while, right?
Skype.
Mary brought up a good point about the meal program too, through the ADRC, with the nutrition program. So I'm not sure what ADRC has in place for that, because we're a meal
Yeah.
site
They suspended.
there. I
Right.
don't know if they would consider probably suspending it and then probably just homebound where the meals are already packaged and then just delivered to those
Right.
in their units.
Certainly now for mealtime,
Mhm.
people should be sitting every other chair in
Mhm.
Mason Manor, right? Because it's not filled. Is it for the mealtime in the main
It is
room?
on the first two tables, but I mean, that could always be arranged
But
because
the
there's more room.
There's more room.
Yeah,
Like, I
there's
would
more room.
encourage people not, like, just to sit one over and maybe do some of that now, because that's easy to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While they're getting the meals, but we can maybe ask our
All good points.
staff about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else on the virus?
That is enough.
Not now, anyway.
Now that we've all scared ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we would like to give you the update on our redevelopment project, including the capital needs assessment. So I apologize to all of you for how this capital needs assessment looks. We have been messing with it, trying to print it, and it's not user-friendly.
Yeah.
So Dimension Florida Madison did this, and they originally submitted a project to us. We reviewed it and noted that they had some areas that they had underestimated on, just based on the bids that we received back from BSA on our generator and our boiler and stuff. So they have made some adjustments to this capital needs assessment, which are like the two larger pages that you have, or that are part of that, is really kind of, this is the worksheet, it's really the bottom line kind of assessment of all the costs.
Okay.
Their estimate is based on just, the market, and like, what do we know now about the market? Not much. But they're looking at roughly about $12 million to do the remodel that we're kind of looking at doing, which is extensive. It's windows, boilers, generators, electrical, elevators. When we looked at the numbers, when Wausau did Wausau's housing is very similar to Green Bay's. And they just did their rads in 14. That total cost was about 11 million to do that. So
Did you ever see that?
these
I
guys
know you were
went.
talking about.
Yep, they went
Is
there.
it cool?
It's really
Yeah.
neat.
Is it?
It's
And-
very good, yep.
Their 10 stories were 8 stories, and their square footage is almost identical to us. So to see like the
Wow.
possibility of really opening up a 400 or 380 square foot apartment, it put it into perspective that there are possibilities for us.
Awesome.
Right. So, I mean, we weren't surprised by that number because we knew it was going to be a big number, which is exactly why we need to look at options, larger options than just our capital budget, which of course is not going to work, where we're looking at partnering somehow with the developer to do some tax credits, maybe historic tax credits potentially, if we can figure out if anybody important ever slept there or lived there, was on a board.
I'm still checking on the Packers.
Still checking on the Packers
See
stuff.
if Vince Lombardi ever stopped there.
So, but we're not, and that's why we're going out for RFP for a consultant, because they're gonna look at these costs, put them in a pro forma for us, and say, look, based on what you have as resources, what your capital needs are, we think this is the route you should do for financing, and that's how we would find a
good.
developer then. Based on, look, this is what we wanna maintain ownership, we don't wanna, there's some things that are important to the Housing Authority, so we wanna continue to maintain it and manage it ourselves. So, but this is the actual needs assessment, which goes through, if you read through it, if you have not a microscope, what am I
Yeah.
trying to say? Whatever. So, because the print is very small, but it went through the whole building and looked at all of those items that need to be replaced. So this will be provided when we go out, when we look at the consultant, then we'll provide a copy of this. Well, it's out there now, so if developers want to take a look at it. We have had developers that are interested. I've had 3 phone calls already, and then we've also had a local developer who I think had gone through the building when Robin was the director here, and actually looked at it again, and complimented us, by the way, on how well maintained our building is, and clean it is, and all that fun stuff, but is very interested in working with us. So I think it won't be a problem finding a developer. It's just a matter of figuring out how we want to do it. So that's the capital needs assessment, and then the update on the Section 18, we have submitted that to HUD, and we have not heard back yet from them. The way it works is when we submit the application to HUD, our HUD reps go through with a fine-tooth comb and decide, oh, you're light on this, you need more here, whatever. Once they're satisfied, they'll ship that to the SAC office. The SAC office is the one that actually determines whether or not our application will fly through Section 18. I'm kind of hoping that happens by the end of summer. They're thinking the number of months to take to that happen. So when that happens, if they agree to that, then basically our properties will be pulled out of the public housing program, and then it will change over to a project-based voucher financing, which is good for us, like as explained before, in that regards, but it's good for us too because those 48 units of public housing don't go away from the city of Green Bay. So if we could actually work with a developer on Mason Manor and potentially 48 brand-new public housing units, because we still have that allocation for the city that doesn't go away, which would be great because we can create 48 more units then.
Will anything change for the residents that are there? Will there be a difference in, like in renewal every year? Will there be a difference?
Yes, they'll be on a project-based voucher that will be administered by Integrated Community Solutions. So I think the management will go through ICS. We'll still have staff at Mason Manor, and we'll still be doing some things there as well. Because I think we're gonna manage the properties. We're like the landlords.
Yep, so we take on the landlord responsibility, so they'll still have to come and pay us rent.
Yep.
They'll still have to report work orders to us, they'll still have to, the property-wise, but for like when you do your annual recertification, that would be issued through ICS.
But I'm wondering, will there be different requirements? Will those change?
They're very similar to us,
Yeah.
we mimic each other's.
Okay.
programs.
Well, and actually, it'll get better because they'll be, all for Section 18, we'll be able to do more remodeling.
Yeah,
On
I
the
knew that
units,
part, but
so-
I just was wondering about the tenants, if there would be any real changes, and, like with the renewal of.
I think they'd fill out a different form, probably through ICS, right, or is it the same form?
It's almost identical.
It's almost identical, but it's
'Cause
another agency.
I
that would
can
be
just
filling.
know that people will be concerned about that, wondering if they'll be okay, That's always the thing, people worry.
Well,
about.
for scattered sites, we did hold a meeting for scattered site residents and inform them of that. And I really don't think I think it's going to be pretty good. It's
Okay.
actually better for them because we're going to be able to make more repairs to the units that they're in.
Okay.
So, and their rent won't change. I mean,
Mhm.
they're still under the same qualifications for rent, which is, I think, the most important part.
Yeah.
Is that nobody's going to be asked to leave or anything as a result of this change, so.
So the time frame that we're on now, when do you anticipate that the transition would occur to Section 8? Or just,
I think it would, once we get the approval.
Yes.
At the end of summer.
End of summer.
Hopefully, we'll get the official notices from HUD, and then they actually issue temporary protective vouchers.
Okay.
they're called, right? Those will have to be issued through HUD, and so it's gonna be a process at that point, so hopefully by the end of the year.
right, so, and then my next question is, Stephanie, how does that impact on budgeting? Because it's going to be a change in where the money's coming from, right?
Mhm.
So,
Well, right now, the plan is we go as if it doesn't happen.
okay,
And then once we know a date, then we can look at it, but right now, HUD is pretty much, you just, because they don't know how long it
Sure.
takes, you just go like, this is my operating subsidy, and everything was done that we are not changing, and that's how everything was applied for.
okay.
Because we don't know
Sure,
how long
sure.
it'll take, because ours is a June 30th year end, so it don't.
So we're just kind of status quo, June 30th, and then,
So then, looking at that a little further down the road,
Mhm.
so really we'd be looking at sort of that change financially operating coming June of 2021?
It would be a complete change 2021. It would probably be a mid-year change somewhere in 2020, depending on when it changes over. But at that point, we can use what we have.
Okay.
It'll just be like, instead of me requesting funds from HUD, I'll just have the rents coming in.
Sure.
So we'd still use the same, probably through the end of that fiscal year, we'd still use the same budget, and just our funding source would change.
Right. And so then the next question to that is that the whole concept of all of this is to give us more liquidity for projects. So we probably wouldn't see that until 2022?
Depending on what it ends up being for rents and stuff like that, 21 possibly, but most likely 22.
Okay, all right. That's a good question. Welcome.
Hi guys, sorry.
Sorry, we're social distancing, that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt a little like, right now, like,
how Terry felt
Thank you
before
for
you got
getting
here.
It's like coronavirus spacing.
Yes, yes. Social distancing.
Yes.
All right, anything further on the Section 18 application process?
No.
All right, anything more for the director's report?
No.
All right. Then moving on to item number 5, occupancy report for the month of March.
Okay, that is also in your packet. Excuse me. As you can see, we've had, this is from a week or two ago, but 8 new move-ins so far for 2020 and 12 move-outs for 2020. We do have 6 almost projected for the end of February, early March of projected move-outs. Has doing their diligence of refilling these units within 30 days, getting great applicants into these new units from Mesa Manor and both scattered sites. We are maintaining, as you can see on the bottom, 99% occupancy for Mesa Manor and at the time 97.58% for scattered sites.
99.1%. Don't forget that .01.
Yes, so.
Which is phenomenal for staff.
Yes.
Kudos, that is.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
That's keeping them filled and, right?
Well, it's a little, I do have to say though, it's a little drop from, it was 100% the month before.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
you're slipping.
I was gonna say, how many move-outs do we have
It's a
for
tough crush.
February 1st? Probably 8.
4, 5, 6, yeah.
And to
We'll
play
just pull it
into
from
that-
a couple of years ago.
Yes, yes.
And to play into that, that was actually one of the questions we were asked for operating subsidy. Why did your electricity at scattered sites go down so much? Well, because we don't pay for units when they're occupied. So, and it was I had done a count, we had paid for 81 months of electricity in the 2018 year, and in 2019, we paid for 41. We dropped by half.
Wow.
They did that well at scattered sites. So,
So send those kudos to Dave and Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Tom.
Thank them for their hard work. All right. Anything further on the occupancy? All right, so we move on next to the date for next meeting. April 16th.
And we'll see how that goes.
We're all still here.
Right.
get individual bubbles.
What's the travel distance on these things? How far away can we be?
I mean, I think the word you're looking for is how many other committees touch them.
Yes.
I was actually thinking we should wipe them down
sanitize.
after this
Yep.
meeting. I
Put
was
a
gonna
little
wipe them all
lights
down.
on.
Yeah, see,
They end up.
like, and I didn't even think of that. And I'm thinking about all the stuff down. I'm like, you're right.
I had business in Madison yesterday. I guess their announcement came out on class. They're switching as much of even our interaction with them
Right.
to online. It's,
Well, I think Madison, Lacrosse, Green Bay.
I think all of
Boston.
Yeah, the
UW.
whole UW system.
Oh, did that change? Because my husband took a trip to Oshkosh today, because he hadn't gotten the notice yet that they were. But I would think they all
Well,
would, right?
no, it's effective.
It's-
the
yeah, it's
Friday,
effective
2
there.
weeks or something.
Oh,
It's not-
after
it's not-
spring break.
yeah,
There's spring
after
break,
spring
it's
break.
from
Gotcha.
Their spring
I-
break's next week.
My,
Some of them are a
the-
little later
the
than that.
treasurer for the Village of Pulaski, I had a meeting out there yesterday, her son is at Stout, and they got the notice yesterday, and their plan was they were gonna drive on Saturday to pick him up and then go to Florida. Well, now they gotta drive down there, clean out his room,
Right,
bring him back and all his stuff back,
right.
and then leave for Florida. So she was not real happy about
Yeah,
having to
right.
take off a day. You know, and as Mary and I were talking before too, you know, you get to the end of the semester and you sort of clean up your room as you're taking finals, you're starting to pack things.
Right, right.
They got the announcement yesterday, you gotta be out by Friday.
Right, so like, in
Wow.
the middle of midterms.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
we
tough.
Yeah.
focus so much of design and construction schedules to align with the school year for higher ed, right?
Right.
Because it's easier to build when the kids aren't there.
Right.
Yeah.
Had I known, we could have gotten a leg up.
Expedite the schedule.
Yeah,
And-
like.
Okay, anything further before we adjourn?
Oh, yeah, sorry, good motion.
We have a motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. We are adjourned, thank you all very much, and
Thank you all for
stay
coming.
safe,
Yep, stay healthy.
keep your distance.
To answer your question, you probably don't need those, we could all Skype.